At Great Wolf Lodge, there's adventure for the whole family. You and your pack can splash away in the indoor water park where it's always 84 degrees. There's a massive wave pool, a lazy river, and tons of water slides for your pack to enjoy together. And the fun doesn't stop there. Get ready to explore and play at adventure-packed attractions from Magi Quest, a live-action game that takes place throughout the lodge, to the Northern Lights Arcade. There's also a bunch of great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. And the best part, with 23 lodges across the country, you're always only a short drive away from adventure. I am so excited to visit Great Wolf Lodge with my nephew who's 6. He cannot wait for the water park. So bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Book your stay today at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by the brilliant Bree Tucker.
Why, hello, Betty. How are you?
Oh my gosh. So Bree, screen time and kids on the internet. It is a frequent topic of conversation here on the podcast, both, but also like you see it online. You see our Balance members come to us asking questions about it. And it's a huge fear too among moms.
I think a big piece of it is because, we didn't have this degree growing up. Our generation is a little bit of the F around and find out, right? There are plenty of things that my parents still don't know that I did because thank God social media was not a thing. And, right? And now it's like, we don't know. All that stuff is like, it's new. And it's kind of like, how are we supposed to handle it? We can't look back on our past and go, well, this is how my parents did it.
We have no experience in it as kids ourselves. So, of course, we are worried about it as parents for our kids. And so what better to go directly to the source and ask all the questions? And that's who we have here with us today, helping us through this. Tara Hopkins is the Global Director of Policy at Instagram, where she leads work on youth well-being, the creator economy, and regulatory issues. She joined Instagram in 2019 as head of policy for Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, after senior roles at Rio Tinto, the NSPCC, and in the European Parliament and Commission. Originally from County Wicklow, Ireland, Tara holds degrees in history, politics, and European integration, and is a mom to a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. And we are so excited to talk with Tara today. Let's get on with the show. Welcome, Tara, to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here and talk all things Instagram and how parents can be more aware and have more control over what their kids are doing.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
I love especially that, and nothing against anyone who's not a mom, but I love especially that you are a mom and a mom to teens, because this is something that, when my kids were 5, I didn't worry about. I didn't. But once they start to hit that middle school age, it's going to come at you one way or another, even if you don't have your kids on social media, because there's other kids that are, and they're going to be talking about it. So you were right there with us in this. You were right in the trenches.
I do feel like I'm in the trenches. And I particularly feel like it because I've had my 2 children. I have a daughter who's 15, about to be 16, and then my son is younger. And I think how boys and girls develop and they experience social media and the apps they're interested in. Anna, my oldest, my daughter is interested more in probably Instagram and TikTok. My son, more YouTube. And so they have very different experiences. And so trying to parent that, even when I'm coming at it as someone who works on this day in, day out, I find it really hard. And so I do take what I learn at work and bring it home, but I also bring a lot of what I learn at home and bring it to work. And so I do feel quite privileged that I can do that.
You're in such a fascinating position there. And honestly, as a parent, it makes me feel better that you're here with kids and you're using it to shape the decisions and policy of the social media platforms. Because I'm interested, from your point of view, this kind of, I see it as this fear that's rampant on social media among parents about social media providers, really hacking into kids' brain. They say they use all of these techniques and strategies and algorithms. What is your view on all of this fear out there?
I think it's multi-layered. Some of it is very genuine. I think, parents of today, if you have teenagers or preteens, you're probably in your 40s at the time. And so, we all are. And so you personally did not go through this. You did not grow up with social media. And of course, the fear of the unknown. So you might use social media in your everyday life and you probably enjoy it. I love social media. I really enjoy it. Yeah. So, and it brings joy and fun. But of course you worry about what is the experience that my teen is having, because I can't relate to that, because as a teenager, I didn't have social media. So I think some of that fear is just fear of the unknown. I also think that, look, I think you worry about your teens no matter what era you live in. You worry about your teens. It is a really tough period for parents. They are going from being, kind of everything that they did was with you to becoming more autonomous. And, as parents, the things we want to be able to do is to be able to nurture them and develop them, that they do have autonomy as they become adults. So this is a really tricky period anyway for parents, right? So, and I think that's fair. I also think that social media, maybe we haven't done a brilliant job at really supporting parents and speaking to parents and really trying to reassure parents. And certainly that's something that I would say has changed at Instagram and Meta in the last few years, is that we have done huge amounts of work of talking to and working with experts. And that's really important. We've got a long history of doing that. But more recently, we've spent a lot of time just going directly to the source, going directly to moms and dads and having those conversations with them and saying, okay, we hear you, we understand your concerns. Tell us directly what you're worried about. So that's what's really, I think, changed at Instagram and Meta in the last few years. And because of that, we have changed some of our products, and we have launched some really exciting and new products that we think really do give parents that reassurance. And I'm happy to jump in and talk about some of those to help some of the parents who are listening.
Yeah, I like this point of view, Tara, because you talk about giving parents reassurance, because there is this sort of echo chamber that exists out there where you see one headline about how social media is like bad for kids. And I see it out there just in everyday conversation. I mean, I am a mountain biking coach for my son's mountain biking team, and we're just riding along and we pass a random hiker. And the first thing the hiker says, "Oh, I'm glad you guys are out here doing this instead of on your phones."
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
The first thing. I mean, this is how like prevalent it is, this worry and this
it's kind
fear.
of judgmental.
It is really judgmental.
Teenagers can have incredibly multifaceted lives where they can be on their mountain bike, they can be doing their homework, they can be socializing with their friends, and they can also have a really meaningful and an enriching experience on social media. And they can do all of those things all at the same time in the same day. And I think I do sometimes worry that our generation can be judgmental, because we look at them and think, oh, well, we were playing in tree houses.
Yeah.
If we'd had social media, we would have loved it.
We would have.
Well, we're the generation of talk to the hand. So yeah, we definitely have that. I do want to throw in another positive aspect of social media, and I'm going to throw Joanne on this one. There's all kinds of things that it can be helpful for. For instance, Joanne, your daughter found an amazing internship over the summer on social media.
Oh, yeah. I mean, things that did not exist for us as kids, just looking at even the college process. My daughter's a high school senior, and the fact that she could see the lives of students at each university and things that were never opened to us, and possibilities that were never like brought to our doorstep are brought to their doorstep with social media. And I love what you said, Tara, about the judgmental thing, because I always bring it back to when parents are like afraid of social media and afraid of this. I'm like, guys, do you know what the pushback was against the printing press and books? Like there was
back in the day.
Same conversation.
Kids are going to spend all day reading. Do you know what's going to happen? They won't be working in the factories. No, I'm joking.
It's true, though. No.
We do, but it has an impact on teens, because if you feel like your parents are judgmental, then you don't want to talk to them about the thing that they want to talk to you about, whether it's a funny thing. So it might be, I've been really trying to encourage my daughter to share reels and stories, because actually it's fun. So if she comes across something that makes her laugh, I would say, like, oh, share with me. I'd love to see that. I'd love to understand. And that's a positive and a funny experience that you can do together. So whereas if you take a judgmental approach to, which is always, well, you shouldn't be on your phone, you shouldn't be on social media, then they're not going to share with you either the joy, but also they're not going to share with you if something does go wrong or they see something that they wish they hadn't seen, because you, as parents, you want to be there for them if they do see something that they wish they hadn't seen. You, that's, as a mom, that's how you are supposed to support your child. So I think keeping that conversation open and just trying to not be judgmental, trying to be not always positive. Look, of course, social media, like anything else in the world, is not 100% positive, but actually come at it from the perspective of your teen is majority of the time having a really positive experience. They really are. But you want to be there for them for the 1 or the 2% of the time that maybe something happens that they want to talk to you about, and to keep that dialogue open with them.
Absolutely. And I know parents out there also want to know, like, how can they keep their kids safe in a way that's not judgmental? And Tara, we're going to get into that right after this. So Tara, in your line of work, you are the global director of policy at Instagram. And I know that Instagram has put together a lot of features for parents to actually help their kids manage social media and help parents feel more in control and know what's going on, but like not in a judgmental way. So like a parent out there right now whose kids are on Instagram, what do you recommend they do to help, first of all, help their kids be safe, and also so that they know what's going on?
So the first thing I would say is please have some comfort and be reassured that there are many, many people at Meta and at Instagram who have your back as a parent. So what we've done is we've gone out and had very deep conversations with parents, parenting experts across the US over the last couple of years. And parents told us 3 things that they're worried about when their teen is using social media more broadly, but Instagram specifically, obviously, is what we were asking them about. So one is contact. So who can contact my teen when they're using social media? Who can DM them? Is it someone that they know, or is it a stranger? And every parent's worst nightmare is that their teen can be contacted by a stranger and something might happen. So that's one thing that the parents, no matter where they were, told us they were concerned about. The second was about content. So what kind of content are they seeing? Is it age appropriate? Is the kind of content that I would want my teenager to be seeing when they're on Explore or in Reels or stories on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then the third one, which is really more about, I think, the phone, in inverted commas, is the time that they're spending on their phone. Is it the right amount of time? When you've got children who are very young, you go to the pediatrician and you say, I'm worried about them. They've got this, scar or this rash or whatever. Whereas when it comes to using their phone, no one is able to tell you it should be 20 minutes or it should be 1 hour. It really, really depends on what your teenager is doing on their phone for that particular.
That's funny. It reminds me of taking my son to the pediatrician, and they have this like zip code they use at the pediatrician's office, which is, I think it's this Beverly Hills zip code 90210. But one of the numbers stands for 2 hours of screen time. And the pediatrician is telling my son this, and my son's like nodding. And as soon as we get out of the office, he's like, Mom, that is totally unrealistic. Like, I am on that device for school all the time. There is no way. No way. So like what you were saying right there is totally true.
I 100% agree with that, because when my kids started high school, I was shocked how much they actually needed. Like when my son started high school, he had to have his phone in the beginning because they didn't have a laptop system yet at the high school. So he was told, bring in your cell phone. We're going to be working on it. And I do find it interesting how here we are. This is 5 years later now, because my son's a freshman in college. We're all shocked that kids are on their phones all the time in school. And it's like, well, they need tech.
Yeah. And look, we don't take a view of it from an Instagram perspective, but if you're using your phone to access apps that are helping you to learn, then that's part of your educational journey. And that, of course, that's okay, which is why I say it's the phone rather than, one or any specific app.
Exactly. And I think that's what people focus too much on, and that's just Bree's opinion.
No, that's true. I think that's true.
The apps than the phone
itself. And it's because of the app maybe that you use that you then project and you say, oh, they're spending too much time on TikTok or too much time on Instagram. It's probably because
I spend too much time on Instagram and TikTok. I'll be honest.
It's always look to yourself. Look to yourself first and see what's going on.
Yeah.
And then project that model.
What we have done at Instagram is hearing those three those three themes coming up over again, contact, your teen is spending.
Yeah.
We developed what's called teen accounts. So again, for parents who are listening, we launched this in the US back in September. It's launched around the world now as well. We started in the US, and what we've done is we've defaulted every teen who we know to be under the age of 18 into our most restrictive settings on Instagram. And that means they're restricted for who can contact them. They can only be contacted by other accounts that they know or are connected with already. We're very, very strict about who can contact a teen, anyone under the age of 18. We then have put all the teens that we know under the age of 18 into our most restrictive setting for content. It's called our sensitive content control, which means that teens who are in the teen account experience are only seeing content that is appropriate for their age. Mm. And then the third thing we've done is we're defaulting teens that they have a 60-minute limit on Instagram on a daily basis. That's just defaulted on for every single teen in the US who's under the age of 18 who's using Instagram. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We can talk a little bit about how we know and understand age, but that's based on stated age. We've then gone a step further, again, listening to parents, which is for the younger teen. So if you've got a teen between the ages of 13 and 15, what we really heard from parents was they want those teenagers to have a more restrictive experience. And ideally, they as parents want to be more involved and kind of more in control of that experience. Parents also recognize you've got older teens. Actually, they do want a bit more autonomy. And as a parent of an older teen, you're like, okay, I feel good about that. Whereas if your teen is 13 and 14, you want to be more involved. So what we've done with teen accounts is that if you are under the age of 16 and you try to change any of these settings, so let's say, for instance, you're in a private account by default when you're in a teen account experience. So when you first join Instagram, you're put into a private account. If you're under 16, you can't change that to a public account unless you get your parent to approve that. And that's through
and I love that
experience. Yeah.
I love it.
Let's say you have a private account, you're a teen. It also means, you're very restricted as to who can contact you when you're in a private account. And that's what parents want for the younger teen. If the teen wants to change and say, hey, I'm ready to have a public account, what we really hope is that the supervisory experience that we push the parent and the teen into on Instagram, because frankly we do, in order for them to approve that, you really hope it means they're having an offline conversation, right? They're driving to football, or they're having breakfast, or you're having your nighttime chat, or whatever it is, and you're saying, hey, I saw that you wanted a public account on Instagram. How come? What do you feel as you're being restricted about? And so that offline, conversation we hope is happening. And then you can approve it. Or if you're the parent, you say, you know what, not for another year. I still want you to have a private account. I don't feel good about it. I'd rather wait. And so they're the kinds of conversations we're hoping will happen between the parent and the teen.
Yeah. And they happen. They happen. I mean, my daughter, as soon as she turned 16, she came to me with her phone. She's like, Mom, can you approve this, please? And can I get a public account?
Really?
Yeah, because, so she's communications director in her student government. So she is on Instagram a lot because she is posting on behalf of the school, as well as she has in the past done fan accounts, which she's been really good about. Like she had a Taylor Swift fan account, which she's like, Mom, look, I grew this to so much. She
also has an amazing Christmas is coming account. I love that one.
She has a Christmas countdown account where it was just like fun Christmas stuff that she wanted to connect with other Christmas
lovers. Yep.
Just all depends, like what you said, like where is your child in the amount of social media savvy is kind of like what you're looking at as a parent.
Yeah. You know your teen better than anyone else, better than any teacher, educator, certainly anyone at a social media company like Instagram. We try as much as we can to build that experience, but you as the parent, you know your teen, and you might have a 14-year-old who's actually very mature, or you might have a 14-year-old who actually hasn't matured yet. And so you want to keep them in a slightly more cocooned experience.
Yeah.
And what we did with supervision, so if you do set it up, so if your teen wants to change the settings, as I say, we kind of force you, frankly, into a supervisory experience. But you can, as a parent, you can set that up anyway if you want to. Mm-hmm. So you could go into Instagram and into your settings, it's really easy to find, and you can set up parental supervision. And that means that for those parents who do want to go that extra, they can look at other things. So they could restrict the time that their teen is spending on Instagram. So they could just completely block Instagram for 23 and a half hours of the day, if they wanted to, using the supervisory experience. We would hope they would have a conversation with a teen about that, but a parent could do that. A parent can also see who their teen follows and who's following their teen. So they have a bit more insight into the account that the accounts your teen is following. And they can also look at, not into the direct messages, your messaging part of Instagram, but a parent can look at and see who their teen has been messaging over the last 7 days. This was an area that was really hard to get right. And we spoke to so many experts around this, because some parents would like to see the direct messages. They want to see exactly the conversations that their teen is having. Other parents said, no, that feels like it's kind of opening the diary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'd like to have some insights. And so we've set up insights so parents can see the last 7 days who their teen has been communicating with. And again, we really hope that means they're having offline conversations about this. So who is that account? I've never heard of them. Is that you don't have to have your real name on Instagram. So it could be a great friend from school that the parent knows, but the parent just doesn't know what their Instagram handle is. So having those kind of offline conversations, but giving the parent some insights that allows them to have some of those. Because some teens just go silent, right?
What I'm hearing a lot of being restated here is that Instagram is trying to walk that fine line of giving the parents the safety features that would be responsible safety features for children or for our younger generation to be using the social media app. However, I'm hearing a lot of support, which is something that we say all the time here at No Guilt Mom, about having the conversation with your kids. The one thing that we know so far, because we don't know the long-term impact of all of this, just like Joanne said, like back in the printing press days of like, oh, what's going to happen if all the kids are reading books? But what we do know is that it needs to be something where we are having ongoing conversations. And I love that you are aware of that and that you guys are encouraging that. So,
yeah. And along those lines, too, there are certain risks that are happening today in our age, such as like cyberbullying and online predators. And we're going to discuss how the tools and policies you guys are putting on Instagram are helping parents navigate that right after this. So, Tara, here, like, it feels scary to be a parent in 2025 because there are so many things that we did not have to deal with just because we didn't have the online landscape. Things like cyberbullying and online predators. So at this time when we recorded this in 2025, there's a really popular documentary on Netflix called Unknown Number about catfishing that happens to a high schooler, a middle school student. What kind of policies does Instagram have in place to help parents feel better about the threats that are facing their kids right now through social media?
Yeah, it's so important. And I think it's a very real and genuine concern from parents, because as adults, we've also seen a huge rise in scamming and fraud, and many of us have been victims of that. So look, absolutely, it's really important. And you teenagers are more vulnerable to this than maybe adults, but sometimes they're more savvy. So we've done a number of things. First of all, within the teen account experience, we talked about it before, but we really do restrict who a teenager can follow and who's following them back. So that's really important, that they're people that they know, that they're already connected with. However, if a teen is connected with someone who maybe has nefarious ideas, we have put in a number of tools and a number of safety features to try to help and to stop that and to give the teen the support that they need immediately and going forward. So there's a number of things that we do. First of all, a lot of scammers they're really adversarial and they change their tactics all the time. So we work very closely with experts and with law enforcement to understand how some of these tactics do change. But for teens, you're in your DMs and you get contacted, say, by someone who you don't know. What we do is we actually, in the direct message, and this was launched back in July of this year, in the direct message, we're giving teens extra safety notices. So we are saying to them, this account was established, and that we give them the date that the account was established. And we also tell them that the account is actually not in the country that they're in. So this account is not in the US. Yeah. And I think that's really important because the teen might think, oh, this looks like someone who's in middle school, up the road. And then they get told by us, no, this account was established only about 2 weeks ago and is not in the US. So That then gives the teen some information that they might need to pause for thought. And then we also give them the ability, I mean, they can always block an account, but we give them the ability to block and report the account, because we really want to know that there's an account out there that's trying to do this. We also have restricted, and we've been doing this for a long time, accounts that we would describe as scammy. So that is an account, they may not have necessarily violated our policies, because if they violate our policies, we remove them from the platform. But if they're accounts that, let's say, they've been blocked by a number of teens over a period of time, or they've been sending out friend requests, a lot of friend requests over a very short period of time, they're the kinds of behaviors that we look at. Now, we don't tell the public everything that we look for, because, as I said, this is very adversarial and we'll just try and get ahead of it. Yeah. But we use a number of ways and so if we see that an account has some kind of spammy behavior, we will not allow that account to connect with a teen. So we try to stop it at that point as well. But then if they can, or if they do, we then give the teen in the direct messages a number of extra information warnings, so they understand.
Right. Yeah. Red flag.
And we send them safety notices. We say to them, don't feel under any pressure to respond to this person. And look, if the worst case scenario happens and a teenager does actually, because often what this kind of behavior, which is so horrible, is that they try to convince a teenager to send them an intimate image. And boys can be young teenage boys can be particularly susceptible to this, unfortunately. Yeah. Not only teenage boys, but they can be. And teenage boys are not great at talking to their parents about things that might have happened on social media. Sometimes girls are can be a bit more open. That's a sweeping generalization, but that's the experience I've had with my children, is that so in direct messages, you cannot send a nude in a direct message. It's filtered out for the teen. So if someone tries to send a teen a nude photograph or picture in their DMs, we filter that out. That's again in the teen account experience. And we will tell the teen that they can report that account if they wish to. It could be benign. I don't want to scare parents, because it could be like an aunt sending a photograph of a cousin in the back or something. Yeah. But look, we do want to take a precautionary approach.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes me feel better knowing that you guys are being extra cautious about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
And it feels better, too, that you are ahead of it, because what you said right there, you're not telling the public everything you're doing because you're trying to get ahead of the scammers. Because if you made it public knowledge, they'd just change their tactics right away.
We want to give teens as much information as we can to make sure that they're making the right decisions. If it's someone they don't know, they have all the information in hand, and then they can decide what they want to hopefully have a conversation with their parents. I just want to do a shout out for Take It Down, which is a brilliant organization, which is if a teen has shared an intimate image, just say, don't panic, talk to your parents. And as a parent, don't be judgmental, because, we all make mistakes. But takeitdown.necmec.org is a brilliant organization in the US. You can contact them and they'll explain to you what you can do in order to be able to have that intimate image removed. Obviously, we would remove it on the Instagram end, but what you don't want is that you think it's out there somewhere on the internet. So takeitdown.necmec, which is ncmec.org, is a brilliant organization that helps us to make sure that we're there for teens when the worst case scenario happens to them, that they don't lose faith, actually, that there are lots of organizations that are out there to help them.
That's a great organization to know about, definitely. And as kids go into this back to school season, Tara, there's a huge thing actually here in Arizona, for instance. Cell phones just got banned in the classroom, but Instagram is doing some reach out and some stuff with schools too. Tell us about that and how parents can work alongside Instagram.
Yeah, this is really exciting because we started to pilot this concept last year. And on September 25th, we're launching the Schools Partnership Program in the US. And this is all middle and high schools across the US, which is really exciting.
That is
and
exciting.
What the partnership is, it's about connecting the school directly to Instagram, effectively. So it is allowing the school to be able to report content or accounts to us directly.
Oh.
We give them 48 hours and we'll act on that report. This is to help schools, particularly around bullying and harassment.
I was going to say that would be immensely helpful. Yeah.
Yes, bullying can be very, very contextual. So we have a number of tools already on Instagram, and some of them are very well known, like the restrict tool or the hidden words tool. All of these are integrated into the teen account experience. Also brilliant for adults who are using Instagram as well. But look, it is contextual. And so a school might have a particular issue with bullying that is related to, a football game or something that happened in that school, that as Instagram, we might not understand the context of that. And therefore, we might not be able to take the content down because we don't have the full context of that. This allows the school to be able to get in touch with us directly and be able to report content. And because we know it's coming in through the school, we know that we need to take action on it. So it's a brilliant partnership. As I said, it's been piloted in the past. We piloted it with a school in Connecticut, and the principal has said some really wonderful things about it. So we feel that educators are seeing benefit of it. So that's why we're going to be launching it across the US to middle and high school starting in September.
Oh my gosh, Tara, I see the benefit of it right now because there have been conversations I've had with my daughter and things I've heard back from the school. And the school's like, well, we have no control over what's online. We can't control it. And this gives them direct control of it so that they don't feel so helpless.
They don't feel so helpless. And again, I think a lot of educators do feel quite overwhelmed, right? They're doing brilliant jobs. It's really hard. They've got full classrooms back to school. As parents, we're probably all thinking kind of phew, that our teenagers are no longer in the house. But yeah, educators can feel really overwhelmed. And in the same way that I think sometimes we feel that the phone can be a bone of contention in the household, I'm sure phones feel like they're a big bone of contention in schools. So we really want to help schools and help educators alleviate some of that, they feel like there is a program that's built specifically for them. And it can be any content, but I think, it is specifically, I think, beneficial for bullying and harassment.
So I have a question about that program. So what I'm hearing is that if the school has a concern about an account, which is probably brought up then by a student or multiple students, they can report that account to you at Instagram, and you all will immediately take action of reviewing it, looking at everything, and you will take on the responsibility of making sure that account is on the up and up.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. We would review the account.
Okay.
Or it might be just one piece of content.
Okay.
It might be an entire account, because on Instagram you can report pieces of content, just one piece of content. You could report a DM. You can report anything on Instagram, a reel, anything on Instagram. But the school has the ability to report both a piece of content, and it could be, it could be a bunch of teenagers from another school. Right?
Yeah.
And we would hope then it would help a conversation to happen between the two schools as well, because hopefully all of the schools will have the ability to be in the program. But that's exactly right. It's that the school, as you said, has an outlet, has a pathway that they can communicate with us and they can report to us. And then we know, because we know it's a school, that we're going to take it very seriously, and that we have more of the context than we would maybe normally have if someone just randomly sends something to us for review.
As a parent, I'm going to be telling my kid that this exists now, so that they know.
Yeah.
Because I think in the past, they're kind of like, well, I can't do anything about it. It's Instagram. I have no control over that. And we can be like, no, now you do. You can go and say
go report it to your school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. And I think reporting to us or through your school is really important, because what we do, a lot of this is AI. But if something is reported to us, it is dealt with. So it will go into the system. We will usually send you a message to say we're dealing with it. But it also helps our AI systems to better understand the kinds of content that's being reported to us. And like I said, when it comes to bullying, it is highly contextual. So a good example is emoji, the use of emojis. So the vast majority of people use emojis for fun and humor, and that's kind of what they're for. But some people use emojis to bully. Right. And that teen might know that particular emoji that is being used to comment or to tag them is in a
harmful way. Yeah. And it's so funny. Joanne, have you run into this with your kids, and Tara as well? Like, where you think an emoji means one thing?
General words in particular are different meanings to my teens than they are to me. So it's like, Yeah.
It is so hard to keep on top of that. Especially if they won't fess up and tell you the decoding of it. And you're like, what's that mean? Why are you laughing at me?
We have brilliant teams at Meta. I mean, Meta's a big company, and there's, teams that do pretty much everything. We've got brilliant teams whose job it is to keep up to date with how emojis and how certain phrases are being used. You can imagine this is really hard to do at a global scale, which is where AI is so incredible, and being able to kind of teach the system that some of these, but sometimes it is just, overnight the use of an emoji can completely change, and we try to get it right, but we don't always get it right. Like we never say that we'll always be 100% perfect, but certainly there are teams that's what they do day in, day out, is trying to understand the use of words and emojis in a bullying context. So we're able to take action on them.
That is so fascinating. Well, you shared so much with us, Tara. And I actually have some action steps I'm going to take for my son's Instagram account, who's 12, just to go and check on a few things, make sure I have some settings
Well, he should
correct.
be 13, I should say.
He should be 13. Yeah. Well, yes, but I also have login information. We talk a lot about it. So
and I think that's really important because, we talked about before, parents know their teens best. Mm-hmm. And if an account is pretty much managed by the parents, you deciding, we say you should be 13 to join Instagram, and we build Instagram for 13. But parents, your teen. And so you can decide, okay, I'll let you look at my Instagram account. I'll let you see how it works. Now, the Instagram account that you as an adult has will look and feel so different to an Instagram account that a teenager has, because of all of the protections and tools that we have in place. We, what we call it, we age gate accounts. So we only allow teens to see certain accounts. We have very strict rules around this. And this is a piece of work that we're really delving into even further now. So some things will come later on in the year around helping parents to understand the way we rank age appropriate content. Mm-hmm. And so what the experience is that you're having on Instagram is actually very different to the experience that your teen is having on Instagram. So I think, but look, having conversations with your teen, and
it's a cooperative thing where I have his login. I look at his account all the time. We have lots of conversations about it.
Yeah, keep those conversations going.
It's how to educate kids as well, to educate kids on social media and how to interact on it as well. But something that we always end with, Tara, is what is something coming up for you that you are excited about in your personal life?
Oh, my personal life. Look, my teens have also gone back to school, and just last week here in the UK. So I am honestly really excited about being able to have a bit of time to do some exercise in the next few weeks, because that just completely went out the window during the entire of the summer. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited. I'm going to be in the US for work in September and October, and I absolutely love traveling to the US. So I'm excited about that. They're the two things: exercise and a bit of work, but fun travel.
I think all of us celebrate a little when our kids go back to school. The only year I remember not celebrating is when they were in kindergarten. After that, I'm like, have fun. See you later.
Pretty much. Well, thank you, Tara, for everything that you have shared with us today. And for all of you out there, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks for stopping by.
If you'd like to support the show further, you can share episodes with your loved ones, leave a positive review, or follow us on social media at No Guilt Mom. You can also show your love by visiting our amazing podcast sponsors. We have a link in the show notes.
DSW, Designer Shoe Warehouse, is the one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between, for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW has what you need, but more importantly, they have what you didn't even know you wanted. You never know what you'll find at DSW. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or DSW.com.